Can Buddhists smoke weed? When we talk about smoking weed, getting drunk, we're talking about overconsumption or becoming intoxicated. And this is referenced in the first 5 precepts we take to become a Buddhist. So, can a Buddhist smoke weed? Yes. Why would a Buddhist smoke weed is probably a better question. Why would you break the 5th precept? And I think it's a breaking of it. I think that smoking weed is taking in an intoxicant. Whether or not you get high, because I know that there are some people out there right now saying, well, I smoke, but I don't get high. Whether or not you get high, if you are putting an intoxicant in your body, then you have to ask yourself, why? And I think it's so that you can change what's happening in your moment-to-moment life. You want to feel better. I think that's what it is. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to feel better. But there are different ways we can do it. And the Eightfold Path tells us that being intoxicated doesn't work long term. Right now, yeah, if you go and smoke something, eat a pot brownie or whatever, yeah, you'll feel better. Until you don't. Buddhism says that if you try to work with not becoming intoxicated, eventually the 5 precepts, the Eightfold Path, the 4 Noble Truths, etc., 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 will get you to a place where you feel better most of the time without having to go buy something. The other problem with smoking pot is very recreational and we share it with people. And that's a slippery slope in Buddhism, sharing intoxicants with people, regardless if you're selling them or giving them away. Helping other people leave reality is problematic in Buddhism because we are getting them away from their practice, whatever that may be. We as Buddhists practice seeing things as they are. We as Buddhists practice feeling things as they are. Doesn't always work. Most time it doesn't work. But that's the point. The point is to see and feel. That's what mindfulness is all about. So when we share our pot with other people, we are helping them to become unmindful too. And remember, this is a practice about others. I became a Buddhist so that I could be kinder to others. I'm also kinder to myself, thank God. But I became a Buddhist to be kinder to others. It's a practice that we do for others. So if we're giving our pot away, helping other people become less mindful, that's a problem. It's a Buddhist problem. It's a problem. And the other thing that's a problem is that you can't really be high and be in meditation. And ultimately, we want to make our entire life a moving, beautiful, spiritual, joyful, peaceful meditation. We can't do that if we're high. We just can't. And there's very few situations where getting high is the appropriate response. I mean, at least with drinking, you can see how people say, raise your glass to whatever, and you raise your glass, you toss it back, and that's the end of that. But nobody is really going to ask you to, blaze up or whatever it's called these days, in celebration of something. That's just not a thing. I mean, or maybe it is. I don't really know. To be honest with you, I know so little about getting high. And I also know that we want to be mindful about the things that we consume, regardless if it's pot or alcohol or Cheerios or Oreos. We want to be mindful about the things that we put into our bodies, whether it's eating them, smoking them, drinking them, or consuming them with our eyes by watching entertainments, reading certain things, all of that stuff. We want to be very careful, because if you believe that you are what you eat, which is how some people say it, Thich Nhat Hanh says it this way: we become what we constantly consume. So if we're constantly consuming things that are violent, television shows, for example, certain books, for example, or that are frivolous, certainly magazines, for example, then we become more like that stuff. We are more tolerant of violence if we watch a lot of violence. We are more tolerant of frivolity if we spend a lot of time in frivolities. So, the fifth precept is about intoxication and overconsumption. We vow to do our best to avoid becoming intoxicated by drugs, alcohol, entertainments, philosophies, Buddhism, food, dancing. If we're doing too much of it, we should work on doing less of it, including Buddhism. It's true. People can become too Buddhist. I went through that stage. You become too Buddhist by thinking that everything that you believe, everybody else should believe it too. I went through that stage. I had a friend who I love who decided that Buddhism wasn't for him. After he tried it for years. It just wasn't for him. And it broke my heart. I wanted him to believe what I believed. Instead of wanting him to find the best practice for him, I really didn't care if it was the best practice for him. I believed it was, but that really wasn't why I was upset. I was upset because he wasn't a Buddhist, not because he had found something that worked better for him. If he finds something that works better for him, if I'm being the best Buddhist that I can be, I would cheer for that and let him do that. But that's not what I did. What I did was I was sad and I tried to talk him into becoming me. Even Buddhism, you can overdo. Can Buddhists get high? Yes. But the fifth precept asks us not to. The fifth precept asks us not to do a lot of things that we do all the time. These are aspirational. Thank you. Be well.